Hi, Robert Cargill back here at my University of Iowa office, and today we wanted to make a quick video about another problem we have, or at least I have, with one of the images that is being put forward by the Jesus Discovery team. This is their website here. We talked about in an earlier video how to adjust for skewing, how to adjust for perspective with images that are taken at angles, and we did that by looking at an image here in Findings and Photos. We actually went through, it looks like they've changed this up a little bit again here. We looked at this image here, and we looked at how, I demonstrated how this image is nowhere near what the evidence is. This is an image that's been turned to its side and taken out of context and had all this doctoring and photoshopping done to it to make it look more like a fish. Again, Mr. Jacobovich and Dr. Tabor are trying to argue that this thing is a fish spitting out stickman Jonah. Here's his little This is nothing like the image that is actually on the ossuary, and we looked at that in an earlier video. Today I'm going to look at a different image. The reason I'm doing this is we've seen the book has come out, The Jesus Discovery, and you can see that. But now the documentary is actually coming out. Associated Producers, this is Simca's company, is actually releasing their documentary. And on Discovery Channel, and here's their little blurb on the Associated Producer site. Here's Discovery's little press release, and they talk all about it. And of course, this is the actual Jesus Discovery website here. The image we want to look at is an image that had been doctored, and I don't know how else to say that. It's an image. It was not a photograph. It was a photograph that had digital manipulation done to it, I would argue, for the express purposes of bolstering the claims and the conclusions made by the authors. That is, these weren't digital manipulations that argued against or that hurt the argument. They're digital manipulations that actually helped and favored the argument. Specifically, we want to look at this image down here. And you can see down here where it says fish in the margins. And then this is, again, just to refresh your memory, this is the top of the image in question here. They call this the tail fin of the image, of the fish, the Jonah's great fish. This is Ossuary 6, and Ossuary 5 is over here alongside of it. We can blow this up, and you can see, if we get really big, this is Ossuary 6, this is Ossuary 5. Now, the problem we have is this. This image that you see here that says fish in the margins is a new image. This was not the original image that was on the page. Whoops, pardon me. The original image that was on the page, if we go over here to Photos and Graphics, and we go over here to Photos and Findings, the image that was originally there was this one here. And when you look at it, you see fish in the margins, and now the caption reads, fish in the margins, highlighted and marked. This and marked section was not on the original. What the original used to look like was, and I wrote an article called Sins of Commission and Omission, Digitally Generated Marginal Fishes. And what we were talking about in that is, this was the image as it was pushed on the website. Fish in the margins photo, and this is me looking at it here. This is the image here, pardon me. Fish in the margins. And when you click on this image, you can see, oh wow, there are little fish swimming around in the margins above what they're calling is this big fish. Ignore this handle here, and of course ignore the handle that's in the same size on the other side that you can't see in this image here. Ossuary 5, Ossuary 6, and you see this fish in the margins. And that's all it says. There are fish in the margins. And when you look at it on their website, you come over here and you see this image that says, oops, pardon me, fish in the margins. I posted this article And I pointed out that when you look very closely at the fish in the margins, you notice something besides the fact that they've been artificially highlighted. And you know, I don't mind that. It's obvious that that's not what the ossuary looks like. They're obviously highlighting something. What caught me off guard was that, as you can tell, if you look very closely here, someone has come in and digitally inked these engravings. So here you can see the actual engraving. This is a photograph. You can see the engraving. Somebody highlighted these three with a filter. Okay, fine. But someone has also come in and inked these images. If you look very closely, you can see this is a Photoshop pen tool or some kind of brush tool. And they're trying to outline these shapes. And that wasn't designated over here on the site. It just said fish in the margins. Whoops, it's this one here. After I posted this article pointing out that this inking had been done, that's not a natural image there. Forget the highlights. That when you look closely at it, somebody has gone in and specifically chosen a color of ink that matches the engraved colors here. So you can see this is an ossuary. Somebody engraved it. When you carve into it, it's a little lighter. Somebody chose a color specifically that would match this color here to make it look like, from a distance, oh look, there are fish swimming around in the margins. But when you look at it and you come in, you can see, oh wait, somebody's stroked this, or somebody's inked this, or these are all different words for artificially taking a pen, trying to match up this color, and look, you have a little Jesus fish. You have a Jesus fish here. See the tail overlaps? Here you have a Jesus fish, you have a Jesus fish. And of course that bolsters the argument that with fish swimming around here, that this is somehow a fish. The problem is twofold. One, this was not acknowledged that it had been, forget highlighted, that it had been inked until I published this. After I published this and said, by the way, this has been inked, you can see that it's been inked, all of a sudden, within 2 hours, a hole showed up here in my article. And I wrote an update. Since I published this article on March 13, 2012 at 11:49 a.m. Central Daylight, the website had removed the doctored image, the one that had been inked. And the reason I knew that is the URL that had led to this image here was broken. There was just a big gaping hole. And so I put a note in here that they pulled the image. Now what they did is they re-uploaded the image. So if you go back over here to Photos and Graphics, they re-uploaded the doctored image. Except this time when they re-uploaded it, they had two things. One, they actually designated that it has been now, you can see down here, highlighted and marked. And I guess highlighted meaning the spotlights, which is fine. Marked meaning they've digital inked them. Marked, I guess, is a nice euphemism for we've artificially inked this with color that looks like the rest of the inscribed areas. Maybe that's what they mean by marked. This was not designated as this prior to me publishing this article. Number two is they uploaded another image right next to it that is highlighted. That is, they didn't. This is what the image should look like without the digital ink. So this is the image without the ink. This is the image with the ink. Whoops, this is the one without it. This is 60. We got to go back and find 61 here. Go back here. And we come down and we find, here it is. Here it is highlighted and marked. So this is the image where you can see the digital ink taking place. Then they uploaded the original image without the digital ink, with the highlights, but without the digital ink. So prior to me publishing this thing, exposing this, you just got this image. Whoops, you just got this image here with the digital ink, but it was undesignated. They didn't tell you, oh, by the way, we artificially inked this image. After I published this, this image got pulled down. This image got re-uploaded. It's no longer image 16, it's now image 61. So the URL changed. They moved it, or they changed it, or did something. And then they uploaded the original. And that's the way it looks now when you go to the Jesus Discovery website. When you look on Photos and Graphics, everything looks hunky-dory because you've got two images, one with the fish what they're calling fish highlighted, one with them highlighted and marked. Again, you used to just get this one and it was undesignated. So that solves a problem. At least now the people at the JesusDiscovery.org website are acknowledging, yes, we artificially manipulated this image by placing ink in the inscriptions. Yes, we didn't acknowledge it. Now we're acknowledging it. This is artificial ink designed to look like the rest of the inscription to make these look like fish. One problem solved. You expose it in an article, and they respond to it by fixing it and designated by the way we change this. There's a much greater problem that is being overlooked here, and that is this. This digital ink does not correspond to the inscribed areas here. And the way that we can prove that is by going over and looking at a different image that they've uploaded on the same website. These are their images. I'm not touching them at all. When you go over here to this image, which is called Fish in the Margin Details. Okay, now I've pulled up some graphics. So this is this image here, and you can see something about this is the what they're calling a fish closest to Ossuary 5. You can see Ossuary 5 here. Here's Ossuary 6. Okay, and this is Ossuary 5 here. This is Ossuary 6. This is the one closest to here. Of course, this is the one that they inked in the other image. So I think if we just go here, yeah, here's the inked one. Again, they digitally inked this one, Ossuary 5, Ossuary 6. Okay, now let's switch over here to Photoshop. Here we can see the original image 16. You can see up here, this was the original 16, and you have an inked image. They hadn't designated, they hadn't told anybody they inked it. This was the inked image. After we pointed out that they had digitally altered this image, they uploaded this one, which is without the ink. Whoops, this is the one with the ink here. This is the original. This is, now you can see this is number 61. This is 16. This is 61. They also uploaded image 60, which is without the ink. But what really caught us was this one here, image 17. And as you can see, this inscribed area here does not overlap. I want to make this very clear. It starts here where my cursor is. It comes up. It makes a loop. They don't even touch. They don't even connect. It comes up. It comes around, and it stops. So it's not even an oval. It's not even a closed loop. And when you look here in their uninked image, very close, you can see that. It comes up. It comes around, and it stops. But the way that they've inked this image is so that it overlaps. And I think this is the more egregious problem here. It's not that they inked it and didn't tell you. That's a problem. But they've remedied that by uploading the original photo here without the ink and then designated. By the way, we digitally altered this one. They used the word marked. But here you can actually see that this appears to be overlapping, right? To make it look like, oh look, this one here connects, and this one here. So now you've got this Jesus fish looking thing. When we look at it here, it obviously does not overlap. You can see the engraving coming down and coming up, and it comes to here and it stops. It does not overlap. It's not even an oval. It's just a three-quarter circle or a horseshoe shape, and of course they don't show you the other two. The bigger problem I see is that this image that they inked doesn't match, and I've got some images over here. So again, note this image here does not overlap. Okay, you can see that. But when we lay them side by side, when they draw it here, you can see that they've drawn it so that it overlaps. So not only did they ink the image without telling people, by the way, we've digitally manipulated this image with a color ink that makes it look like it was naturally engraved. But once we expose that, what they didn't say is, by the way, we also extended this bottom portion of this inking to make it look like it crosses like a fish, when in fact it does not. So what that means is you don't have fish in the margins. You don't have fish in the margins. You don't have fish in the margins. They don't overlap. They don't cross. They're just some kind of loop. Somebody suggested a leaf. Somebody suggested an oval or a circle. What you don't have is this. But of course, by the time we look at the museum quality replica that the team has produced, what do you get? You get fish with the tails crossed all over the place, swimming in the margins. Again, I would argue that this is a very obvious digital manipulation designed to promote the interpretation of this image as a fish swallowing a stickman Jonah. This is a Greek vessel, of some kind of vessel. It's not a fish. How can you maybe persuade someone to interpret this as a fish? You can draw little fishes around the margins. Oh, there's fish here. There's fish here. On the backside, you can't see it in this image, but you've got this half of a Greek vessel, and they're calling it a half a fish. See, the more fish, the more likely you are to interpret this as a fish. But when that Greek vessel, if we go back up here to my article, if this half vessel here that you see here has handles on it, you can see the handles, then this isn't a fish, right? And if you can see the handles back behind this image here, this side here and this side here, right? You can see this one over here, and you can see this one here. Then this isn't a fish. And perhaps it should not surprise us that we see that they've digitally inked this one to look like a fish when in fact it is not a fish. It is just some kind of three-quarter circle that stops right here. Again, not to belabor the point, but it does appear that the imagery on the JesusDiscovery website, I mean, this is the best that I can lay it out here. It does appear that this image was digitally manipulated to make it look more like a fish when in fact it was not. If we go all the way back here, so one, they uploaded an image without mentioning, oh, by the way, we've digitally manipulated this image. And once we pointed that out to them, and they designated this as, what do they call it? Marked resurrection tomb. Oops, resurrection tomb. Let's go back, and we see that they're calling this this image marked. So they're still not saying, by the way, we've digitally manipulated or digital inked this. They're just saying that it's been marked to show. So not only did they upload an image, digitally alter it, and then not tell you, but once they did designate it, they didn't point out that they've overlapped this so that it looks like a fish, when in reality, it's not. It doesn't overlap. It's not a fish. Again, that's what I've got, and next time we'll look at a problem I think we have over here with this corner. Again, I don't want to do a whole video on it, but I want to point out this little area right here, but you can see this seam. You see this seam here on the left? You note this seam here has a bunch of gunk in it, and that gunk does not extend down beyond this line, which is the top border of this digitally manipulated fish here. But if we go back to the image we were just looking at, this gunk doesn't come down past this line, right? But if we look at this one here, we see that there is no gunk in the seam, but this does come down past this line. And we want to do a video maybe looking and comparing this seam right here. I don't know how to explain it. We'll deal with that next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.